Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Thursday, 29th August 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. New draconian laws to shore up Venezuela's Maduro hold on power. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. International pressure is growing for Venezuela's president to release to the public the vote tallies for last month's elections. But so far, Nicolas Maduro is ignoring those calls. Instead, he's promoting a series of laws that would further target his opponents. Al Jazeera's Lucian Newman reports.
It's called the Law Against Fascism, Neo-Fascism, and Other Similar Expressions, which would allow the state to imprison, fine, and or confiscate property from people or organizations that are considered to be promoting violence and hatred in their political activities.
You all know what fascism is. It's hatred, intolerance turned into violence. That's why I've asked the National Assembly to quickly approve this law.
Andres Cisarra, a former member of Maduro's cabinet, now in self-imposed exile, calls it the legal basis for a dictatorship.
The Nazi Germany had the Nuremberg laws, and now this law against fascism, which is basically gives the government power to go against anything. Anything they want to call fascist, they'll go against, although you can very easily claim that the fascists are in government.
This comes on the heels of last week's approval of a law that would substantially curtail and control NGOs, such as those that monitor human rights violations, unlawful arrests, and state corruption. Government opponents and the UN rapporteur for Venezuela were quick to describe the law as a further erosion of the rights of civil society in Venezuela. Amnesty International says, quote, it will jeopardize the very existence and functioning of community, humanitarian, and human rights organizations with its ambiguous articles. Maduro is not alone. His close ally, President Daniel Ortega of Nicaragua, closed down 1,500 NGOs just this week and has been confiscating buildings, equipment, and other property belonging to non-government organizations, including the Catholic Church, for several years. Meanwhile, the European Union says it will not recognize Maduro's electoral victory.
We can't accept unverifiable results.
International pressure, however, has so far failed to persuade Maduro to turn over the vote tallies. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera.
With over 400 murders recorded for the year to date, Trinidad and Tobago's opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar is calling on the Prime Minister to forget the coat of arms and instead focus on the boats of arms and ammunition coming into the Twin Island Republic. TV6's Ranissa Cutting reports she's challenging the population to say how many more years they are prepared to endure this.
One person is murdered every 14 hours. About every 14 hours. So when you left home, to come up here, to sit here, by the time you get home, one more person murdered. On average. 50 murders at a monthly average. One person is reported missing every 12 hours. Brutal home invasions. Citizens are beaten and tortured every day. Robberies, rapes, wounding and shootings have besieged the nation. Kidnappings for ransom have restarted. Extortion of business people by criminal gangs is out of control, leading to murders.
the trauma of a nation in statistics, but according to the opposition leader, the numbers tell but part of the story, with the main theme being incompetence.
They interfered again to intercept the merit list to kick out Griffith. So first they interfered and bypassed 3 to put him. And then they came and interfered again, going up to President House and grabbing the list from the lady hand to kick out Griffith. Then they handpicked McDonald Jacob. When they kick out Griffith, McDonald Jacob. 2022, 613 murders. After that, they chose Commissioner of Police Earler. 2023, 577 murders. 8 months into 24, over 400. We have had almost 4,500 murders under this government since he came into the office.
Prasad Bissessa is accusing the government of attempting to distract the public from the pressing issues.
Mr. Rowley, rather than being obsessed with creating distractions by changing the coat of arms, I say, government, you would better serve the people by focusing on the boats of arms and ammunition coming into our ports every day. Focus on those the arms, the boats with the arms and the ammunition, the illegal drugs coming into our country. You would better serve us.
The opposition leader was speaking at the UNC's Cottage meeting in Chaguanas last evening. Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
BPTT and EOG Resources have agreed to partner on the coconut gas development, which aims to grow the gas business. Meanwhile, Cimex TLC is making construction materials more accessible and affordable to the public. Andrea Perez Sobers tells us more in the CNC3 Business Watch.
In a statement today, BPTT says Coconut will be a 50-50 joint venture with EOG as operator, while the final investment decision has been taken by the joint venture partners. The first gas is expected in 2027. It states that the coconut field is located off the southeast coast of Trinidad in the Columbus Basin and was discovered in 2005 by BPTT in a water depth of 260 feet. Commenting on the partnership, David Campbell, BPTT's president, says it will allow the company to accelerate production from the coconut field while giving the space to progress its ginger field development and other gas growth opportunities at a faster pace. Campbell notes that BPTT is accelerating gas growth while remaining focused on returns to achieve a higher value in the Trinidad business. In a bid to making construction materials more accessible and affordable, Cimex TCL is offering a program called Constru Credit, which will be available at hardware stores for customers. This is in conjunction with Unicoma's Courts Ready Finance, which will assess the eligibility of customers for the sum of money lent. TCL's General Manager Gonzalo Royeda Castillo says that housing continues to be a major socio-economic challenge, not just here in TNT but across the region, and it's for that reason the facility was created.
At some point, we might have some financial needs for projects that we have, like building a new house, or somebody else wants to refurbish the kitchen or remodelating the house or whatever need that you might have. And sometimes it's not aligned with our financial resources at the moment. So that's when Constru Credit comes.
Speaking on sustainable initiatives, Castillo indicates that TCL has incorporated waste oil to reduce the consumption of natural gas. Castillo assumed the role of general manager last month.
Movietown tenants are uneasy as rent is due, and they are confused over who will be collecting money at the end of this week. While the Port of Spain Infrastructure Company has retained its right to seize the premises, the court granted an injunction to Movietown, ensuring its tenants are not affected. However, the court steered clear of determining who should collect tenants' rents. CNC3's K. Marie Fletcher has this report.
Tenants at Movietown, Port of Spain will have to seek legal advice to determine, get this, who they should pay their rent to at the end of this week. The peculiar dilemma follows last Friday's attempted takeover led by the Port Authority and Port of Spain Infrastructure Company Limited, which owns the land at Invaders Bay. Businessman Derek Chin, along with his business partners who lease the property under the entity Trinbago Commercial Development Company Limited, had their day in court over the almost $11 million debt owed to Pacinco. TCDC agreed that it would pay $3 million to the court, which will be held in escrow until the case over the arrears is determined, and Pacinco agreed not to interfere with the leases and operations of the tenants. The judge, however, decided not to make a determination on who should be collecting rent from tenants. Instead, the judge left it open to tenants to decide if they want to continue paying their landlord, TCDC, Pacinco, or pay directly to the court. The court's decision not to make a decision has left several tenants uneasy and confused.
You don't pay until you get an invoice, so until somebody gives me an invoice, I can't do anything. I can only put the money aside in my accounts until such time. I don't think the court has a clue what our rates are.
Another tenant told CNC3 News that they believe it's an internal issue that should not trickle down to the tenants. But if there is a change in management, they hope there's no rent increase and that issues such as leaks and flooding are addressed quickly. When CNC3 News visited Movietown around midday on Monday, it was business as usual as the cinema, restaurants, clothing and toy stores were all open to the public. And while TCDC's security appeared overly suspicious of everyone, especially the media, shoppers appeared unbothered by any of the recent activities. K. Marie Fletcher, CNC3 News.
Over in Barbados, after the Democratic Labour Party's contentious annual conference resulted in police being called in and some members being barred from entering the headquarters, political analyst Peter Wickham is of the view that a number of political careers have ended. CBC's Crystal Hoyt has some details.
Political analyst Peter Wickham believes the highly contentious Democratic Labour Party annual conference over the weekend has brought the political careers of Dr. Ronnie Yearwood and others in his faction to a screeching halt. He says the expelled former DLP president now has limited options.
I think the obvious thing to do is he can either go back to his academic career, which is not a bad move, or alternatively, he could try with a third party. My feeling is that, if Richie Haynes could not do it under the NDP, I don't see how Ron Yearwood could do it in an environment like this. But what is also clear is that the muscularity of the language that him and several of the others have used will make it very, very difficult for them to walk back a path towards the Democratic Labour Party. So my sense is that they have essentially blown up all the bridges between themselves and the DLP. And, essentially you've seen the termination of several bright political futures in one fell swoop, which I think is unfortunate. So I don't see a future in politics.
Mr. Wickham also shared his thoughts on the shadow cabinet announced by opposition leader and DLP political leader Ralph Thorne.
It's really clear that Ralph Thorne is trying to build a bridge to the future by imposing, one could say he's taken on board several new faces, people like Neil Marshall and so on that have never really been part of anything before. But he also has some of the old faces, the old guard, and I see them as a bridge. So the Richard Seelys, the David Eswicks, both of whom I don't believe should run for seats, but clearly he wants to rely on their expertise to some extent.
The political analyst says he's intrigued to know who will replace Senator Tricia Watson, who was removed by Mr. Thorne after serving in the upper house for only 6 months. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillean Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.